Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the afternoon of our third day, the ALS Northern New England Chapters Symposium. It is my very great pleasure to introduce David and Pam Kelly, who are going to share their story, among other things, I'm sure, with you. And so without further ado, welcome, David and Pam, and thank you for sharing your story.
Hi, I'm David Kelly, and I'm here with my wife Pam, speaking to you from a winter wonderland in Hill, New Hampshire, a small community on the Pemigewasset in the Lakes region of our state. We have been happily married for 39 years and have two adult daughters, Michelle and Melissa. I'm a retired science teacher, and Pam is a retired payroll administrator. We joke that we are a STEM family. I was a science teacher, Pam worked in technology, Melissa is a mechanical engineer, and Michelle is a middle school math teacher. After 34 years of teaching at Pembroke Academy, a public school in Pembroke, New Hampshire, I had a gorilla crawl on my back called ALS 2 months after I retired. This has drastically changed our lives. Before ALS, we were very active in our community and with activities like hiking, mountain biking, kayaking, snowshoeing, and camping. My limb onset sporadic ALS has me currently confined to a wheelchair, and I'm not able to lift either of my arms. Nonetheless, there is still room for a full life with ALS. I am actively involved with the competitive robotics community at several different schools. I work 20 hours a week writing educational robotic articles, and I stay actively involved helping ALS organizations. My wife and I were the New Hampshire advocates for the ALS Association's Advocacy Day. Sadly, this was done virtually this year, and we did not get to travel to Washington, D.C. to meet our representatives in person. We both participate in numerous Zoom meetings for caregivers and patients each week. I am taking numerous supplements for treatment. One of the supplements is chocolate chip cookies to keep my weight up, but they haven't been formally prescribed by a doctor yet. I was a participant in the L-serine clinical trial at Dartmouth Hitchcock Medical Center with Dr. Stommel. I'm still taking L-serine. Today we're going to talk about the relationship between caregiver and the patient. I'm going to take a few minutes to discuss this relationship from the patient's perspective, and then Pam is going to describe some of the challenges we have faced by adding COVID-19 into this relationship. I want to start out by saying that if there's anything consistent about ALS, it is that everyone is different. And I'm certain this also applies to the relationship between a caregiver and the patient. So please understand all of my following comments are coming from my personal experience. First of all, it's very important to understand that ALS affects your caregiver as much as it affects you. So it's important to keep some things in mind. Try to be kind and polite. Your caregiver is most likely exhausted for taking over the half of the work you used to do, plus everything they used to do and their personal care, in addition to your personal care. Safety. Always keep safety of yourself and your caregiver at the forefront. Neither of you want to get hurt. For instance, when I was going up and down the stairs, my wife would assist me with a gaiter belt. There came a point I felt like the two of us couldn't do it safely anymore. So rather than persisting until something happened, I moved downstairs. Communication. Communicating with your caregiver is extremely important. However, with my wife and I, we've been living together for 39 years. More than half of our communication is nonverbal. So sometimes we stare at each other thinking one another knows what the other wants until one of us finally realizes, oh yeah, we need to talk to each other. Blame. Don't go down the rabbit hole of blaming others for things you can't do. It's nobody's fault you have ALS, And certainly don't let your caregiver put blame on themselves for things. They are really doing the best they can. I try to focus on the things I can do and not the things I cannot do anymore. As a patient, make sure you can tell the difference between the two types of pride. There's a false pride and a true pride. The false pride comes when you think, I'm too good for that, such as, I'm not going to use a walker. If you're still in the early stages of ALS, the sooner you learn to give up this false pride, the better off you'll be. Because soon you're going to be depending on your caregiver to do all sorts of things your false pride would have never let you do before ALS. But don't give up on the true pride. True pride tells you you're still worth something and you can still make a difference in the world. Disagreements. Be aware that there will be times when you have disagreements with your caregiver. But the more you can resolve these disagreements, the easier life will be. For instance, I believe the sit-stand lift moves much slower when I have to go to the bathroom than when I've gone to the bathroom. But my wife disagrees and says it moves the same speed no matter what. Last of all, remember, both you and your caregiver are in this together. You need to look out for one another. Laugh and also cry together. Remember, life goes on with ALS. Now I want to turn this over to my wife so she can explain some of the challenges she faced being a caregiver during the COVID-19 pandemic.
The pandemic has pretty much brought everything to a screeching halt in our house because of the high-risk nature with someone with ALS. David has not been into our store. I have only gone into our store a few times. We get most everything online, or I do curbside pickup. We also have some family and friends helping us out with shopping. This can be challenging as David's needs have changed. I do have to say that ordering online can be tricky. For example, I think we have enough ketchup to last us a very long time. We have not had anyone into our house. We had a large 20-foot screen room that we set up in our backyard, which I just took down yesterday with the call of the snow that did come last night. It has worked wonders for family and friends to visit outside, but no one's been in the house. We set up 3 tables when both of the girls were home, so we could have cookouts and social distancing. Most of the time, we only had 2 tables. It wasn't until later in the summer when one of David's former students and his family suggested that they bring us takeout. It was the first time since March that I didn't have to worry about a meal. That was fun. It was so wonderful. It was so wonderful that we had other couples and families bring us takeout. We didn't even let our daughter, who came up from North Carolina for our other daughter's wedding, stay in the house. We had her stay out in our camper. We called the camper the COVID Castle. And where do I begin with how much our daughter's wedding was affected by the pandemic? Her ceremony went from 130 people with a big reception to 27 people and no reception. She couldn't even have a bridal shower. We postponed the shower twice and then had to cancel it. A big challenge was David's tuxedo. Because of the COVID, we couldn't get him measured at the bridal shop. So I had to take the measurements from instructions over the phone. Then when the tux came in, of course, it didn't fit. So we had to do a Zoom meeting to remeasure for a new tux. Plus, just putting it on was an adventure. The wedding was on David's birthday. This was the last time he was able to walk any distance. He walked Michelle to the arbor so that we could give her away. There was not a dry eye anywhere, including the people watching the wedding on Zoom. The day after the wedding, we had a surprise in store for David. His former students and parents planned a drive-by parade for his birthday. He was pretty tired after the activities the day before. I told him we needed to get to the end of the driveway. He said, I don't think this is going to happen today. In my mother's voice and a stare down, I told him he was getting into the car and we were going to the bottom of the driveway. Not sure how we did it, but we made it. He was so honored to have more than 40 cars with signs and balloons drive by and wish him happy birthday. We were fortunate to get a used power chair from a neighbor and purchase a handicapped van during the pandemic. This has allowed us to get out on some adventures. We call some of our adventures the walk and roll or ride and roll. We were able to go for a bike ride on the local rail trail with Michelle and her husband. We have also done walk and rolls on the rail trail and at the Franklin Falls Dam with friends and family. When our daughter from North Carolina was home on Labor Day, we were able to visit Franconia Notch, and she could even go in the van with us, and we all wore masks. Normally, during the summer, we would go camping in Maine. We like to go to the Algonquin area. There, of course, is a favorite spot for seafood. After getting used to the van a little, we did a day trip. I can't say we weren't both a little nervous about our big trip. We went to Mike's Clam Shack. We did takeout, got it to go, went to the beach, and ate it in the van. Then we went on the Marginal Way walkway. David, of course, in his wheelchair, and it was a mandatory face mask there. Didn't make it to Perkins Cove, but we did find a place on Route 1 for our dark chocolate caramel salted treats that we usually get at Perkins Cove. David made sure that I took a walk down on the beach, though, and touched the water in the ocean as he sat in the parking lot watching. We also took David's father for his 90th birthday to his favorite ice cream shop to get ice cream in the van, but once again, everyone wore masks. We mentor the local elementary school robotics teams. Last week, we had our first meeting, and we met with the students and the other mentors on Zoom. A new challenge. I feel as though we've missed out on many opportunities since March, as this was the time that David was still walking, and it would have been easier to get around and do things. We had a couple of more trips planned, but that did not work out. So thankful we went to the Grand Canyon last October, one of the things on our bucket list that we were able to do. We want to thank the ALS Association Northern New England chapter for all their help and support. Also, from me personally, a thank you for the members that have joined in the caregiver Zoom meetings. You inspire me and help me so very much. Sometimes it can be just a tidbit or just, oh yeah, I'm dealing with that also. Remember to take time for you. I tend to forget that sometimes during our busy days. Thank you all for allowing us both to share our story today. Back to you, Amber.
Thank you so much, David and Pam, for sharing your story. We really appreciated it. It's a great story, and I've enjoyed working with both of you so much. David and Pam are both on our planning committee for the symposium, and look forward to working with David and Pam on other projects. Oh, we have a comment from Jenny. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. David. So next up is our mindfulness workshop with Grace, which will start in a couple of minutes. So just click on the up next and we will see you there. Again, David and Pam, thank you so much. That was very inspiring.
Thank you.
You're welcome.